All right, so hello, how are you? So I'm here to talk about Kwezzi, but I guess before we should start, you should know a little bit about me. So my name's David. In addition to being part of the Kwezzi team, I'm also running a bit of a HR business up the road myself. And in a previous life, I was actually in the Royal Australian Navy. So I spent 9 years in the Navy as an officer, and with the focus being on leadership, management, people, and training. However, let's get moving on to Kwezzi itself. So what is Kwezzi? At its simplest, Kwezzi is the ability to gather video responses to any question that you can ask from anywhere in the world through any device. Now, that sounds pretty simple. With that comes a lot of interface, collaboration, social, response management, and also about engaging in those particular individuals. But before we get into the detail, and before we start to nut down and drill down into Kwezzi itself, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the story of Kwezzi. So Kwezzi wasn't the brainchild of nothing. It didn't sit there and come out of the mists of time. It in fact was born from something, and that's called Talent Box. So Talent Box was a multi-input, multi-layered interview system. So it allowed you to create questions in which you dictated how someone could respond. It could be video, that was the core of the product, but it could be written, it could be multi-choice, you could have as many questions as you liked, and you went through this vast process of creating the response and then assessing after that. Now the problem, and there's plenty of products like this, like there are plenty of products out there that are similar to Talent Box. We thought ours was the best, but we were pretty biased. We were certainly at a really positive price point, but the problem was there was plenty of products out there and they all shared the same issue. And the problem was that complexity of the construction generated complexity of effort. And equally, it created complexity of effort for both end users. So it created complexity of effort for the organization and also created complexity of effort for the person who was applying for the job. Talent Box was very much focused on the recruitment side of the business. And so the problem that you had there is that becomes a barrier. Someone has to invest 20, 30 minutes into creating this interview, they put it out into the world, and then somebody else has to invest maybe 40, 50 minutes into making that application. So both end users have these huge barriers to entry. And we realized this, and so what we wanted to do was strip it down. We wanted to strip it down, and we wanted to get to the very heart of the technology itself. And the heart of that technology was, of course, video. So, the power of video. The power of video. Imagine you're at a bar, and imagine that you want to talk to a girl or a guy and they're at the other end of the bar. In that first 10, 20 seconds, you're going to get so much information out of that particular individual. You get a feel for who they are, how they interact, for what type of personality they have, and that's a very powerful concept, and we use it every day. We use it when we meet someone, when we interview someone, when we talk to the barista at the cafe. You're always engaging, always, just in an intuitive fashion, you're doing this. And so video is about capturing that idea of getting a snapshot of a human being and then having it stored and being able to sit there and look at it in a later context. And so we stripped down Kwezzi to its absolute barest essentials. And we took a concept of having a single video to a single question and allowing you just to absorb that information, that special kernel of information. So why don't we talk a little bit about some use cases. Start off, recruiting. That's probably the most obvious use in this situation. Imagine that you're a retail company. Imagine you're French Connection, you've got a boutique store, you're looking for new casuals to hire, to put on the floor and start selling. Does it really matter that, that they have a degree or a high school education, or does it really matter that, they spent, 7 years working at the reject shop and were selling $2 like plastic gizmos? No, of course not. What you're really interested in is that person engaging? Are they getting information? Are they out there, and are they extroverted? Do they present well? These types of information are so visual, and they're very much about the character of the individual. So again, in this most simplistic concept of creating that, of getting that information that's most useful in a retail setting. That's quite a powerful piece of information. So let's move on to the next one, which is housemates. So imagine that you've got a room spare, that you want to get a housemate, reduce your rent. Do you really want 20 people coming over to your house, knowing where you live? Do you really want to have to clean your house because you don't really want to? You just want to get some information out of them. So rather than having 20 people come over and making an ultimate decision, maybe you can just send out a Kwezzi link and get 30 seconds, and you're like, okay, well, 3 or 4 of those people were really cool. About 5 were freaks, and you're definitely glad they never came back and never even saw who you were. And now you're just looking at 3 or 4 people, they come over, and you can start making a better judgment. It's a smoother process, a safer process, and it just allows you to change up how you're doing it. The next example is the audition. So we had to think about this. Imagine you need a drummer and you're a band. And rather than having people audition and renting out a community hall, instead you send out a link, they set up their iPad or they set up their laptop, and they give you a 30 or 40 second spiel. Again, it gives you that, allows you to watch. You can watch their hand movements, you can watch and listen to their beat, and it's just a little bit about getting a snapshot, again, of information. So finally, I guess, and this is probably more for the panelists and the corporates in the room, all this stuff is very consumer-based, or it's very low-level based in terms of the commercial sphere. So what about a big company? How would a company like Deloitte or BHP use a product like this? Well, one example would probably be internal recruitment and secondments. The internal processes in large companies when it comes to these movements is fairly informal, particularly in the selection side of the event. So allowing the team in London to look at that candidate from Melbourne and allowing them to see, is this person going to be a bit of a fit? Can I really rely on the manager in Melbourne to tell me how this person looks and feels and how they interact? Well, probably not. Maybe they're really bad and I just wanted to get rid of them for 6 months. You just don't know. So again, in an internal setting, in a corporate setting, there is niche uses for this product, particularly around internal movement or even gathering thoughts and getting a feel from your team. You just flick over to the next slide. So let's just walk through a quick demo. Now these are all static slides. The idea is just to quickly move through Kwezzi as a product so you can have a bit of a look and try and get a little bit of a feel for it. So this is just the home screen. It's, I guess, just designed around giving you a bit more information, but it's as simple as ask your question now, and that'll hit over to the next slide. So here, and this comes a little bit about to, I guess, the commercialization. Let's make your first question. Personal is free, and then branded at the moment is free, but in the future we're going to be looking at charging people. So in this case, you can see up there, there's $5. The difference between the two products is that the branded allows you to put more imagery on it and to allow you to sit there and again, personalize it or brand it for use for your company or organization. And here, okay, so it's simple. It's a very quick process. You just write the question, add the photo, add your logo. So you can see there, so you personally, your name, you can see your logo of your company or organization, or nothing if you're doing it for a drummer or for a housemate. And then as you go to the next slide, you can see that as you move through this process, single screen, things just keep ticking up. And now we're going to preview. Now what's really important about this is that, this is all taken, obviously these are static screens, but it's all taken moments. If you have something that you want to ask now, in just a few moments, you've clicked a few buttons, you've gotten to a preview, they've shown you a few, a possible question for you to put out there. You've gone very quickly through this process, and now already you're ready to share. You know exactly what you're putting out there, you know exactly what people are going to see, and you copy the link and you push it out to any social media or even just basically just through an email. It's as simple as that. Okay, so this is from your perspective. So if you are now an end user, so you're sitting there and you want to apply for this job, or you want to be the drummer in this band, you now can just click and start the process of recording your response. Now I think it's important here to reinforce that you can create these and respond to these through any device. So whether it be your Android phone, your iPhone, whether it be iPads, laptops, desktops, all that's possible. And the idea is that no matter what medium you use to create the response, the other person on the other side of the planet or next door can use any medium by which to respond. So this is the management screen. So I guess getting back a little bit towards what we talked about initially, the interface here is designed to really quickly let you assess and respond to different responses. So one of the big things here is to maintain it, to keep it visual. So I talked initially about video getting that snapshot of individuals. Well, as you drill down and you select one and it comes up and you get to see that individual, Now that's imprinted in your mind. And so the next time you come in 2 or 3 days' time, you're going to be able to see that snapshot again, and it's going to remind you. So it's about keeping the visuals and keeping that same method of analysis consistent all the way through the product. So now you've selected one, it comes up, and you can click play as well. And it's about starring, flagging, dismissing, and you can see the contact features there as well. So you can share this with somebody else or you can contact. Now coming back to the sharing function, which I think is really important, is about collaboration. So if your boss asks you to hire someone, you get 20 responses, he only wants to see 3. You make the assessment, you see 3 responses that you like, that you then want to push on. You can very quickly with the system select the responses and then push them to your manager. Your manager then can click into his own management screen, and then the only responses he sees are the ones that you selected. So it's about creating a pipeline but not locking anyone down to a particular interview pipeline or a particular response assessment pipeline. So that's quite a lot in a short period of time, I do realise. But the current activity. So what we're doing now is really seeding it back out to a lot of our contacts that we built through Talentbox and also through our own personal networks. And the idea here is to really start getting a response back and saying, you've used the previous product or where we were, what do you think? What do you perceive the change? And then we've also gone out to new clients, people that we knew that we couldn't target previously with Talentbox and trying to pull in that validation. So we're very much in the start phase, I guess. We've reborn, and now we're trying to get that information back. So I guess the next slide is about give us your feedback or ask us a question. So I guess if you go to Kwezzi.com, Kwezzi.com, and you either go to feedback or you email us questions at Kwezzi. It'll give you a great method by which to test. Anybody who asks us a question will be responded to via video if you feel like you want to see a few of the team give you some of the responses. And of course, any feedback that you have would be absolutely amazing. So I guess the next slide is thanks, and I think we're over to the panelists now.